Uh, the clerk over on the 5th floor of the city hall, he knows me. He tells me stuff all the time. All the time. I know that many people, for particular individual, I won't name, this particular individual spams that poor clerk every day, uh, because they still don't believe that they have criminal charges against them. Practically every day, they spam call them. They appreciate that when I go there, I'm level-headed, that I equally give them information, I explain myself, and I'm not up in their face and essentially annoying the heck out of them and harassing them. And it's part of the process when inevitably, because I do plan to follow through with this. Inevitably, when you file any or you want to file any sort of civil suits, the first thing the judge is going to look
Mm.
at is, did you exhaust all your administrative options? The administrative options being you petition your grievances with your government agencies first, see what relief was granted to you, and if none, then that's making your case that much stronger because it shows that you tried and you repeatedly tried, not just once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. You tried repeatedly, and you
Yeah.
have documentation to show as such, and that's important because that's exactly what every judge looks at. No matter the case, I'm not unique in that regard. That is 100% always a necessary component to not only having a successful case, but to really show that you are doing your due diligence, that you're trying to meet them halfway. You're not being given any relief. It's a repeat pattern. And so people begin to know you. People begin a rapport with you. They begin to give you information, let you know about stuff that's happening. And frankly, you learn a lot because I don't think there's any other way that you could possibly understand particularly in LA, the complex bureaucratic hierarchy that there is. I don't think somebody that is completely out of state like myself would have ever had the opportunity uh, from anywhere else to learn about all this if I didn't just do it and go and put myself out there and ask each of these agencies, from the controller's office to the city attorney's office to the clerk's office to the DA's office to the state bar to every city committee you could think of, from budget and finance, ethics commission, housing and homelessness, public safety. I mean, it's the only way to get your word out to the very same people that are also responsible for adjudicating a lot of the claims that, be it myself or others, want to bring forward.
Right. Um, the next question I have is, let's talk receipts. So you made a point to be transparent. So how important was that your credibility for those supporting your fight?
Super. And I'll explain, I'll say this too. When a lawyer brings up the topic of money, you can get a legitimate quote from them via an invoice and they will give it to you. They're required to. They're not going to just pull up a number and somehow magically that number doesn't exist. They will give you an invoice. It is really truly that simple. Literally, that's exactly what happened with my case. Before I ever paid any money whatsoever, I wanted an invoice. They gave me an invoice. I saw the invoice. It lined up exactly with what they told me over the phone, and I posted a screenshot of that. It was that easy. It really is not anything out of this earth to figure out. You don't need any sort of advanced training or education or special insider secret sauce. It's just not how it works. It never has been how it works. It really is that simple. To get some sort of quote or a estimate, they will give you an invoice. It might not be the exact number that ends up being paid out, but they will give you a starting price. Even if it means you have to go up from there, they absolutely will give it to you. Absolutely.
Okay. You never asked for more money without proof or reason. So why was that such a critical principle for you, especially in the world where legal fundraisers can sometimes go unchecked?
It's so easy, quite frankly, to do the right thing when it comes to things like posting a receipt for your legal bills. I mean, there's infinite number of avenues that you could do so. When I started, I made a GoFundMe. I put the exact amount, and then I explained in the GoFundMe actually the bill I paid for the legal fees was 5,800, all inclusive tax and whatnot. On the GoFundMe, I put the goal at 6,000 because they keep a management fee to process all the transactions, which equaled to exactly $200 I would have lost. Um, and so if you split $200 from 6,000, it ends up being the 5,800. The 200 gets kicked to GoFundMe for offering the platform, and everybody could publicly see what the money is going for. It's important for me that people see what their money is going to. They made an investment. I have a fiduciary responsibility to actually use that money specifically and exclusively just for the sole purposes it was intended for. And the sole purposes it was intended for was for my legal counsel, specifically for this case. I put the case number, I put the receipt for what the counsel was asking for. There's just no excuse in this day and age. It really is just that simple. And the reputation is all you got. There's no need to obfuscate.
Yeah.
The moment that you even begin to muddy the waters with something so easy, it's just not a good look. And understandably, people will have a significantly harder time to ever believe you for anything else. And it's a very big thing, by the way, to obfuscate uh, and confuse people about. There's so many ways that you can make it seem like it's some grandiose thing that's too complicated for people to understand or comprehend. And so you push so many different narratives. But in addition to that, quite frankly, the thing I want to say the most is public funds are a legitimate way to actually help people because it shows everybody has the access to see exactly what the purpose was for and what the money actually went to. And we need to have a positive role model and example, at least one, in this most recent period to show the good use of said funds, because there have been several people that have abused uh, the discretion and the purpose of the funds that they were given. That is a fact. That has happened several times in the past year for all the people that have gotten caught up in whatever different legal battles. And so it's important for people to see an actual positive example so that there's still trust, that there's still faith
Right.
and hope, so that people can actually see that not everybody is doing away with the money that they were entrusted. Um, that's a big betrayal that I don't think you can ever come back from, in my
Right.
personal opinion. And so that it's for all those reasons, it's important for me to have shown all the receipts. And I closed my fundraiser. You can't donate to it anymore.
Yeah.
I left it up so that people can see and have a historical. So like the link will still work if to take you to the page, but nobody can donate anymore.
That's awesome. Um so you confronted Hydee publicly and asked her about your case without revealing who you were. What did she say, and how did that moment shift everything?
Oh, so I have the recording, and eventually I just got to get to it. But basically, it went something to the tune of, "Listen," and this is Heidi speaking. Uh, Listen, my office sees 55,000 over 55,000 cases a year. This doesn't make anywhere near the top of the priorities that we have. At most, it's going to go to diversion or potentially be dismissed. I mean, if that's not
Wait,
a
wait,
damning,
wait.
yeah,
So she already knew
yeah,
that they were going to dismiss it? She was just costing you money?
absolutely. And that's the biggest issue. It's not that what she was offering, it's the fact that she kept dragging it on. It's the fact that she knew for this entire time that it was frivolous and she's had done it as a political favor. That's the problem. That's the issue.
Wow. So it was literally just for politics.
Absolutely. And here's the best part. At that Soha meeting, the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association meeting, there was other people because I was asking her about Scientology. There was other people. There's two other ladies that you'll actually get to hear in the recording, and it's only an audio recording. And I had my iPhone with me, but you'll hear two other ladies on the recording that tell Hydee that they don't like Scientology because Hydee was saying, "I'm not for or against Scientology," and one of the ladies came out right to her and said, "I am totally against Scientology, and here's why: they do not believe in mental health care. I lost a friend to them, and the other I don't know if it was her friend, but somebody else that was accompanying her was like, yes, I agree with my friend here." And it was beautiful. Because I didn't even bring up Scientology in particular. I just brought up the case and I asked her about Audit LA, and I just kind of let her just speak. And like I said, she expected me that to be some other crony of hers that was gonna just agree blindly with everything she said, and it worked like a charm, man. It worked like a charm.
Wow. So, looking back, what is the most shocking thing you discovered in your fight for justice?
Uh, Frankly, in LA, the best thing anybody could do for anything is never rely on anybody else and figure out how to do everything for yourself. When it comes to everything from car repair, house repair, to even lawyer, forget it. Just do your own everything. But honestly,
Now, how did you know how to write up all these motions though?
I
Like,
I, I didn't. I
did you
figured it
know that
out.
before?
No, I figured it all out. I just
How
figured it
though?
all out.
How? Did you like what did you do to figure it out? Like, did you sit at the library? Like, what
So
did you do?
yeah, honestly, this is just how my brain works, but I'm really good when I see something, I can pick it up quite quickly. And so all it took for me was just to see some different sample pleadings because I had the content down. To some point, I'm like, okay, I see they have it in particular special formats and they need certain things in certain ways. And at that point, all I did was I had pulled up some cases. I just searched random cases online. I saw some of the ways that they had written stuff, and I just kind of picked it up quickly, and it really was just like that for me. That's not to say that everybody's like that, but I was able to pick it up. I saw some of the language and how the language was being used, and I'm not perfect at it. I'm not saying I'm great at it. I'm just saying that for me, I was able to pick up pretty much everything from how to actually file, how to like create an account, use the tool, verify that you submitted, that your proceedings were submitted, and if you were going to be charged, that it was charging you the proper amount, and if you had attachments, and a certain number of pages, that all those pages went through. I just figured it all out on my own. The thing for me is I learn the best when I get hands on with the thing I'm trying to learn, and through sort of a trial by fire. I don't, for my own sake, I don't see any other substitution for, you gotta try it for yourself and see.
So you really didn't even need your lawyer, but to be physically there in court and to file with her degree.
Pretty much, she was just a mouthpiece. Yeah, she
Okay.
essentially was just a mouthpiece for me. If I at the time had a full-time residence, and I also had some experience with how just the process of LA courts work, because there's some nuances. So, for example, you don't get to make formal motions for discovery. That's not how it works. It's a local rule in LA. It's just not how it works. You have to make informal requests. So you ask the prosecutor's office a series of things you want to see. and what they say is what goes. If they tell you we don't have it, they don't have it. That's entered onto the record at your next pretrial hearing. That's pretty much it. The other interesting thing is too, you got to be careful when it comes to motions, specifically for motions for discovery. And I found through about this through my counsel, where if a prosecutor already says they don't have it and you file a motion for discovery formally in a written manner and you re-ask that same item, it will be seen as frivolous and it will be seen in bad faith and you will be sanctioned for it. And so
Oh,
that is a big issue with how LA courts for criminal cases operate. Other thing too is that hard evidence being police reports, body cam footage, there is a very short retention period that police departments even have to keep it. And most of the time, because you can't prove that they didn't, but most of the time, officers delete footage. You have to take what the cops say and the prosecutors say as we don't have it. There is no other way for you to realistically see unless they give you some sort of account access to the Motorola Solutions platform, which is powered by the what they call the Fusion Center, which is the data center that stores all this video footage and other records. Which some of the people, if you've ever listened to the police commissioners, another agency that I talked to about my case, when you listen to the Stop LAPD Spine Coalition, they explain the data centers and the processes with which LAPD and the prosecutor's office store some of this prosecutorial data. But they could just delete it. You have no way unless you have special insight access into those platforms, or it's very specific circumstances that the only possible way the record doesn't exist is if they deliberately deleted it and you can conclusively prove that. Otherwise, you're SOL. You just have to take their word for it. And so what happened in my case is the 4 officers that showed up, the following happened. The hard evidence for their body cam footage, the prosecutor said does not exist. We requested that. They said does not exist. Dispatch logs for each of those 4 officers that responded on June 16th does not exist. Also, police reports for those 4 officers do not exist. And so what that means to me is only one thing. It means each of those 4 cops were privately contacted by Scientology to be there on their personal behalf, acting under the color of law for a special interest. That's what that proves. It really doesn't matter that I don't have their body cam footage because I don't need it. I live streamed it, right?
yeah.
Doesn't matter in my case. Secondly, it doesn't matter that I don't have their police report either. I have a detective who was assigned to the case who is different from those 4 cops, but again, just because they don't have police reports, well, there's nothing to glean from those reports, right? So it doesn't matter that I don't really have access to them. And as far as the dispatch logs, the absence doesn't mean that there was never somebody not contacted. Clearly, LAPD was contacted. Clearly, by admission of the prosecutor, they were not contacted through formal channels. So there's no CAD record. They were privately contacted. That's a fact.
Wow. So that shows that the LAPD is working with Scientology.
And all 4 of those cops were from Northeast.
Wow.
As well as the
Okay.
detective, as well as the other cops that took the police report. Because the guy that filed it was he was a PAC security guard. So he's a Sea Org member, right? He's being paid $47 a week. His name is Alexander Scott Irvin. He made the report. So yeah.
Hmm.
All these
Now,
people from
did they ever show how much they lost in revenue or in the amount of like damage?
Nope. That was another piece that came to light. They have no proof for not only that they own the material, So there was no proof of purchase, and admittedly, the prosecutor admitted that they have no evidence at all whatsoever, both on the police report the detective wrote, which is Detective Ishmael Peinado from Northeast. He literally admitted on his own police report that they have no evidence of the damage, as well as no evidence of the proof of ownership via some sort of invoice or proof of purchase. They also never showed any damages. So what they're doing there is what's called stipulating, which means they're just assuming in favor of, without any sort of investigatorial due diligence, that, yep, it happened. It is so. They're guilty. End of story. Prosecute them. And even worse, this guy, the detective from Northeast, Ishmael Peinado, I don't remember his serial number off the top of my head, but again, his photo and all that, I'll have on my GitHub page, and I'll make a Substack article on it. This guy also wrote a declaration in support of an arrest for me.
But you weren't arrested.
Nope. All 4 officers that responded to refused to say that any crime was committed.
Wow.
So yeah. So he's the mole for the detective side that is feeding prosecutorial support to go after protesters. It's him. Ishmael Peinado is the mole that works for Scientology. And those 4 cops that showed up, Barajas, Garcia, what's the other guy? The tall guy that I keep making fun of, because he invested all his points in bench and no squats. What's his name? I have it on my Film the Police channel. Fernando Galindo. There it is. Galindo. Yeah, Galindo. Interestingly enough, Galindo was the same guy that arrested Keith Reynaldi, or whatever his name is. Lydio Reynaldi, the dentist that literally started wailing on Aja over at L. Ron Hubbard Way. So Galindo, Officer Galindo, was the same guy that made that arrest. And Galindo, at a separate instance, also harassed Solomon, threatening to arrest him when he was sitting on some chairs that Scientology had laid out in the middle of the street on L. Ron Hubbard Way. This was at like 9 o'clock at night. I was chilling on the far end of the sidewalk. Solomon was on one end, and he literally, him and Garcia pulled up, by the way. Garcia and him rolled together. They're 2 little groupies, they are. And they both rolled up to Solomon, threatening to arrest him if they don't get off the chair. I saw that they came up, and I got over there, and I started calling them out, and then they immediately left. And I streamed it, and I have that too on my Film the Police USA channel. And yeah, Galindo he's a little lapdog for them, him and Garcia, but Galindo particularly. And Galindo is the same guy also. When I questioned him on June the 16th, he rolled up a second time, again threatening to arrest me, and I asked him how he understands a PPA actually works. He got it dead wrong. He literally said on video that just because somebody asks for a PPA, you immediately have the duty as an officer to immediately arrest them. I'm like, that's not how it works. You're stupid. And he's a P3. And literally in the video, you can see that he boldly just keeps reasserting it as if it's true. He's like, I've been in the force for a while, buddy. He's like, I know it's true. I'm like, you're an idiot.
Wow. So what advice do you have for others who feel like they're fighting the system alone?
Well, a couple of things. The first thing I wanted to say is just because you have a case doesn't mean it's a good one. A case is just that. It's just a case. A case is not inherently good. It's not inherently legitimate. And I think people forget that. Just because you're in court doesn't mean that the thing you're filing or petitioning is any good. People think that just because you have this case that now you're going to get some infinite mountains of discovery that have never ever been accessible before. And it's like, no, bro, you're not going to get any of that. You're going to get what's relevant to your case. And even then you have to fight for it. You're not going to just get infinite free information. It's not how it happens. You're not going to get some secret special documents that show, no, none of that. And like part of the things that I had my counsel request were things like the invoices. They admitted they didn't got one. That's a good discovery, but what the heck else can we expect to get? What
But you didn't get them.
yeah, what else am I going to actually get though that's relevant to the case? You know what I mean? It's just because it's a case doesn't mean it's valid. That you're going to get some special sauce. And I caution people for that particularly because they have this grandiose idea that, oh, well, it's in court now, there's a case, and that's just not how it works. It never has been. And it's just utterly ridiculous to think so. And so I really caution people whenever they hear that kind of talk, because, you know, I initially went through something similar to that, and I was telling my counsel, I was like, besides, you know, they're requesting the invoice, what if we can subpoena some sort of accountant? And they're like, it's just not how it works. You can't just get their head accountant or figure out, you know, who from the accounting firm that they're having do their books for. You don't get that. They're admitting they don't have it. That's what you get. You don't get
Hey,
to.
that's a good idea, though.
It would be, but again, the other side is admitting. So it's like you're not going to glean any sort of special privileged information. It's just not how it works. Similarly, for other very sensitive situations, you know, people think that just because they were there means that you're somehow entitled to privileged information. You're not. It's just not how it works. Unless you're a direct party or some sort of authorized legal representative, you're not going to get squat. Period. Point blank. And so I really urge people to use a lot of caution in that regard. And the second thing is, you know, don't catch cases for benign and not helpful matters. One very important thing to catch a case for is public comment being suppressed. In LA City Council, it happens all the time. They make claims that they're using some sort of software to randomize the names, and they show no proof of that. It's been shown time and time again that they don't call certain names, whether it be Audit, myself, Goat Puppet. And that's why you see the weird names being used, because it's the only way to actually get up there and speak. Those are good cases to have. Those are very damn good cases. But just to catch a case for the sake of catching a case is foolish at best, and frankly a giant waste of time and money. Those are, I think, would be the biggest two takeaways that I would hope people amongst many things, but those in particular that they take away from it.
Well, is there anything else you want to tell us?
You know, LA is different. They do not have reverence for the law there for their criminal cases. I've sat in other courtrooms where, first of all, the courtrooms itself are nice. That's just not how it is in LA. The facilities there are utterly disgusting. Everything is dilapidated, even in the courtroom. It's a giant zoo. And they have a lot of different local rules that are not like any other state. You don't get probable cause for misdemeanors. That's not how it works. You don't get a formal probable cause hearing. Period, point blank. You're not entitled to one. It's not how they do in LA. Texas, you get that. Even for misdemeanors, you don't get that in LA. And so the only thing you have as your probable cause for misdemeanors in LA is you go to trial.
Yeah.
That's your probable cause hearing. You go to trial. And understanding the limits, like I don't know everything there is to know about criminal courts. I was able to pick up quite a lot in my own time having to be somebody that went through this. And I'm glad I did. And when it's all said and done, I walked away with a pretty damn good deal. And I know for a fact, you know, my counsel told me that Scientology is uber mad that I walked away essentially scot-free. They are uber mad because it's all a game of scare tactics. The initial offering was You can't ever talk about Scientology or ever visit any of their buildings on planet Earth, which is stupid. Said hell no to that. Fast forward another month, the offer was you can't go just to any LA ones, anything in LA, period, being all of Southern California. You just can't go to them and you can't talk about them. Hell no. Third offer was nothing in LA. You can talk about them. Fourth offer was, okay, how about not the blue building and not the test center? Fifth offer was, okay, how about just not the blue building and you can still talk about them? And it just went on. It whittled down and down. And the most frustrating thing is your own defense counsel, no matter how special of a lawyer you have, Hydee's office does not care about anybody. They are super, super, super effed up with how they deal with things. They will not reply.
So they literally offered you all of these?
Yes.
And you just kept turning them down?
Yes. I gotta be honest with you. My counsel was like, come on, man, take this. I'm like, hell no. This is stupid. This is stupid. But again, they're looking to make an example out of me, right? Why? Because I was from out of town, you know, new face. Nobody had really known me in LA. And so they figured, this guy, you know, let's just run him through the mill. But I had a thought, I forgot about it, but yeah. Oh, that's right. Hydee's office is super corrupt. Just because you have a lawyer doesn't mean that they will even respond to you. And that's actually an issue my lawyer faced several times. She repeatedly tried getting a hold of several of the supervising attorneys just to have somebody to talk to about the case and work with them. They ignored her messages left, right, front, and center. That's also not unique to my case. Hydee's office is genuinely that effed up. And that's what people don't understand. Hydee is uber corrupt. More so than what people see from, you know, corrupt Mayor Tiffany Hendricks or Mayor Eric Adams over in New York. Hydee don't care, bro. All right? She also, in her divorce case, did similar shady tactics. She has a very well documented history of being like dumb levels of shadiness, and she doesn't care because it's just a slap on the wrist for her. The money she has, which by the way, she worked as a banking lawyer her entire career. She was essentially a banker, and now somehow she made her way into criminal prosecution. How the hell that works, beyond me. But she is super shady. Okay, she got sanctioned $250,000 for excessive litigation against her ex-husband, where she was trying to subpoena over 400 people because she thought everybody was lying about what her ex-husband was saying about his financial records. It was insane. I have the whole 1,200-page declaration where Citibank outlined in great detail why they will never do business with Hydee Soto, because how utterly paranoid and just ridiculous claims and statements she makes left and center, and just expects the world to bow to her beck and call and just simply believe her because she said it. It's utterly ridiculous. And I have these attachments I sent to my counsel. I was like, I'm not the one to mess with. You need to understand, I know quite a bit about Hydee. And you best believe that would have been a piece that would have been presented as one of the biggest defenses I had was malicious prosecution. And I had that as a formal defense that I told my counsel, you're going to use this. In addition to just fighting the charge outright on its three elements, you're going to use malicious prosecution as a defense because the elements are all there.
Yeah. Thingy says she's a drunk.
There have been many reports that Hydee does have a substance abuse issue.
Yeah.
Yep.
Many suspicions, allegedly.
She also went after Richie Sergienko the same way that she went after me, okay? This is now 3 public cases that show that Hydee is... She does this deliberately. It's not 1, it's not 2, it's 3. Minimum 3 that are smack in the face of people in the public that have social platforms to get it out there. I guarantee you we're not the only ones, but sure as hell there's three. There's Michelle McGinnis, who was a whistleblower that outed her same crap. The LAPD also outed her crap about, why are you going after Richie Sergienko? Because he's an activist lawyer. And then there's myself. And the thing about my case is that it's so stupid to begin with. It was one charge, but it stretched out this long. It's making, just on that fact alone, it's making history as being so long drawn out. And vast majority of time in LA specifically, vandalism charges are predominantly accompanied by DV charges. It's a secondary charge, whereas the DV is the primary charge.
Well, and look how much money she just wasted of LA's money that they don't have.
And Hydee she also claims that she has a public integrity division internally that's supposed to be about prosecuting corrupt city officials to hold them accountable. But it's a giant smoke and mirror dog and pony show where she's trying to pretend and give the illusion and perception that she's cleaning house with the level of corruption at the city prosecutor's office. But it's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. They're looking to have more of an increase for what they call a program known as the Neighborhood Prosecution Program, where essentially inside of the different LAPD precincts, they have a couple of actual city attorney prosecutors or liaisons. They have similar authority, that have been granted similar authority to prosecute as a deputy city attorney, where they just go after poor people for dumb crap, whether it be your noise levels for a party are too high, bam, you instantly file charges on people. Whether it be somebody that is homeless and they're sleeping on the street, you prosecute them for that. Whether it be somebody who is sleeping in their car. I mean, this is Hydee. Hydee is pure unadulterated evil, in my opinion. And her behavior just shows it repeatedly. And her office also shows it. And here's an interesting one. I actually don't have, actually, hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, I don't have it off the top of my head, but the day that I met, that I interviewed Hydee, earlier that day, I was actually at City Hall. Okay. I had known the event details already. Okay. And I was just testing Hydee's office at this point, just to see what they would say. So I went to the 9th floor of City Hall and I talked to the city attorney's clerk. And this is different from the 5th one. The 5th floor of City Hall is where you go. It's a different clerk. That's the one where you go to for victims and everything regarding active cases. You go there. The 9th floor is public reception area for people to file grievances, or sometimes it'll be for other city officials or neighborhood council people to go and talk with somebody, a representative from the city attorney's office. But what I ended up doing is I actually ended up going to the 9th floor, and I went under a fake name and I said, "Hey, my name is such and such. I'm just asking to see, hey, you guys know anything about some event happening over in the valley? I hear that there's some public event that Hydee's supposed to speak at. I'm not really sure. I'm just trying to see if you guys know, is this a real event? I came all the way out here, man. I'm just seeing if I can talk to somebody from the city attorney's office, or if the city attorney herself will be there. You guys know anything about that? I hear something about some event. It's public in the valley, and it's supposed to take place later on this evening." And I met with 3 people. Okay, 3 people. Holy crap. The clerk said, "Well, I don't see anything on the calendar. Let me see if I can get you to talk with somebody from the communications team." All right, sat down, waited in the lobby. Some lady from the communications department came up. I forgot her name, but I have their business cards, and I said, "Hey, I'm such and such. Hey, yeah, listen, buddy of mine said that there's supposed to be some event is that true? Like, are you guys having some sort of public event? Is there some other public event that I can talk to the city attorney on? Like, well, I'm just trying to see. I came all the way down here. I'm from the valley. I like to hang out at City Hall sometimes. Just trying to see if just trying to see if I can meet the city attorney. She's like, "Where did you hear that from?" She got super defensive, and I was like, just a buddy of mine. It's whatever." She's like, "I'll get right back to you. Hold on." Goes in her office. 10-15 minutes goes by. Right. This is like paranoia levels start kicking in for them. A different lady comes out and she claims to be from their marketing and basically a handler for Hydee. Okay. She was way more defensive than the lady I had just met with. And she started grilling me as if I was on the stand with questions like, "How did you hear that? Are you sure you heard it from there? Do you know where they might have heard it from? How do you think they got that information? Can I see a photo of this flyer that you're saying? Is there?" And I'm like, it's long story short, they never actually said that anything about this event. Okay. They never said anything about it, but it was a public event, publicly posted on the Sherman Oaks Homeowner Association website. They even have a video of it on their YouTube channel. I recorded it as well, and I did download that YouTube video just in case that Hydee tries to pull something and say that she was never there or blah, blah, blah. You were, in fact, there, Hydee. And yes, that was me there interviewing you. But yeah, that's how shady her office is. I met with 3 different people, man. And they were more terrified and paranoid that I had known the public whereabouts of Hydee by her own admission, rather than trying to help me as a interested member of my city representative to get in contact with them. That's who Hydee
Wow,
is.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it is, right?
That's
It's,
funny.
it's insane.
That's funny though.
Yeah, but this is LA. People don't understand that. People think that they don't get it, man. Like it's different, okay? They just don't get it. They really just
Yeah,
don't get it.
it's definitely different. Like, I mean, even driving through there, when I went through there from, Salt Lake, like, yeah, it's different. Even watching their city hall meetings to Salt Lake, it's like day and night.
It's a zoo.
So, yeah, it's crazy. But
Agreed.
um but so does the chat have any questions for Henry
Yeah, let's hear them.
besides Haywood? Haywood's fallen asleep because they're lame. And the chat's not down in the 20s, it's in the 40s, but thank you. We're on 2 platforms right now.
People are so
What
goofy.
are the next steps, Henry?
It's the same everywhere. The next step always for any sort of topic you want to fight for are, of course, you rally the public through effective protesting, that you actually bring in people, not isolate and kick them out, but actually bring them in and not seem crazier than the thing you're trying to fight against. You attend government meetings where you petition your grievances publicly so that they're officially entered in the public record, that you cannot escape that. If you don't do that, you're SOL. You write to legislators and petition them for create legislation. And then, of course, you couple that with suits, right? Civil suits, as well as pressuring the government to prosecute criminal cases. All
So
of these.
that brings me to my next question. Somebody said, "Are you suing LA?"
Oh, absolutely. I will be following through with it, even if I have to represent myself on a civil suit, because at least this time I'm on the offense. It's very clear. This was used as a extended RO. My First Amendment right was suppressed because of this. That's very blatantly clear to see. I was also selectively targeted. Okay. I have a legitimate claim with the city. There's a legitimate money that was spent not just lawyer fees, but my travels.
Yep.
And it's more than just that. It was for a year that this went on. And it also has a totally different additional context where she prosecuted Cam, she prosecuted, all the people so far that have been prosecuted, but none of the Scientologists or Scientology affiliates have been prosecuted.
Yeah.
That's the argument. It's a very damn easy one to see too, and it's a beautiful thing because it's all in video.
Do you think we are closer to seeing Scientology getting prosecuted for their crimes or no?
Absolutely, I do. Overall, specifically, it sounds like they're talking about the government going after them with criminal cases. I think ultimately, what's happening is that, listen, like I knew that day there was a very high likelihood that I would be prosecuted just to be made an example of. And I knew basically that the government was going to trip on itself to do dumb stuff like this. That was essentially like, let's wait and see what they do. And they did the wrong thing. And they kept doing it repeatedly. And that's what you get them on. And I think it's super important to show that because it's these steps that build up to it. But again, it has to be a good case. A case just on its on its own is not good or bad. And so it has to be one of merit. And this one very clearly is. Again, there was crap loads of other people, and there was a previous date where the same thing happened by the hands of several other folks. None of them were prosecuted. Only I was.
So I have a question. I have gotten a lot of, I would say, I would say hate, because I've gone here at the Scientology building, as well as I know, and people have been here, it's dead, right?
Yeah, it is.
There's nothing there.
Yep.
Well, that main road that me and you and other protesters, when they've came here, stand on, that road is down to a one lane. So nobody travels it right now. The side roads going up, both sides of Scientology, plus 2 blocks one way, 1 block the other way, they're all closed off. There's the only way you can get in there is if you have a house, and it's like zigzagging into the driveways. So that's supposed to be a 9 to 12 month project. So I've gone a different route, more legislative route, and I've thought of it like train tracks. Okay, you have all these tracks, you have all these religions. Okay, and they all lead back to one rail, right? So my thought process is all of the religions pretty much do the same thing in their own way. They all manipulate children and the elderly. All of them have molestation cases. All of them do all of this, okay? But my thing is, with my degree and getting my degree and furthering my degree and things like that, I've gone the legislative route, you've seen how far each cities are. It's not a small travel, but I have 18 cities I'm covering on this end. and I'm going to all the city councils. I'm working in the back end doing my research and things like that. But also, along with cases so we had, 14 cases since the first of the year of public officials being charged with child sex crimes. And Most of them are attached, all of them are attached to certain religions. Some of them are bishops in those religions, as well as, we have people who were in prison, like Wanda Barzee. She was let out of prison, off of probation, still on the sex offender registry, and just reoffended in a park where children is, things like that. But I'm going the route of hitting each track, you know, um, making sure that I attack each track on its own, because if I knock off the garbage onto the track as I'm moving down, I will have the room to get back to the main line. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think of it. The analogy I like to make. I follow yours. I've also heard people describe it as, the multi-headed Hydra. You know,
Hmm.
the fact of the matter is, none of this is about Scientology. This really isn't just about Scientology. Never has been. Never will be. This whole battle, the whole root of all this is lack of accountability, and to go after the institutions that allow this lack of accountability at all levels. And one of the ways that you're particularly going after, uh, and I fully support, is the bigger message, which is hiding behind a religious veil to do criminal acts,
Yeah.
serial criminal acts, not one, two, three, like tens of thousands.
Right.
Everything from financial fraud to disgusting capital cases.
Right.
And so that's what the real story is here. That's the real message. This is not about Scientology. It never has been and never will be. Scientology is not unique. Neither is the LDS.
No.
This is a pattern of behavior by a lack of accountability and institutions that take advantage of it and are allowed to do so. And that lack of accountability can take on many faces. It can take on a face of government, corrupt government officials that do exactly what happened to me. That's the real story here. It's
Yeah.
not anything to do with Scientology. Remove Scientology and imagine it was some sort of drug kingpin that wanted to mess with me and my family and did the same thing. What's the difference? The answer is nothing. They're still choosing knowingly and deliberately to prosecute something that has no merit. They know it. She admitted it. And that's the bottom line. What happens to Hydee? What happens to these individuals that run these institutions? What should be happening to them? And that's really at the crux of all this. One effective way to cut off the head of the Hydra is with legislation that exposes this behavior and mandates action thereafter. That's huge. Another, like I said, is for people to cover the city meetings, because local government at the city level, like Audit LA has said, and like many others have as well, Will has said this too, Mona has said this too, and countless others. I know you've said it too. Local government at the city level is how you can get your direct voice to be heard, and for you to also build an audience of other people that are equally as passionate. But you have to be consistent, not just one off or two offs. You have to be consistent with it. Otherwise, why should they listen to you? If you're not going to be willing to put in the time and show up repeatedly, then you clearly don't care. You clearly don't have a commitment. And so why then should you expect that same commitment from people if you are not putting in that same level of effort and commitment? And I'm not saying everybody has to put in the same level. I'm just saying this is the path. This is the recipe in the equation. The
Right.
public advocacy side, where you're showing up, educating people, and making viral the topic that you want to talk about, but following it up with petitioning city government, petitioning state legislators. That's all important. All of that has to
Now, what
happen.
do you mean by petitioning state legislators?
It's honestly hilarious and very sad at many levels, because I think what grassroots movements like this show is actually how deeply uneducated the American school system is, and most people literally don't even know
Funny that
how
you said that.
how a bill gets passed. Literally, They don't get it. They literally don't get how a bill comes to pass. And it's scary. These people vote. They vote.
My name is not going to be on that bill, you guys.
Yeah. That's I saw that from several people, and I'm like, they're worse than morons. This is
If you guys vote, please don't. Please don't vote. If you guys are one of the ones that commented that said her name is not on that bill, she did not do it. Like, please don't vote. Please don't.
insane.
Because of course my name is not going to be on the bill. Of course it's not. I am not a legislator. I am not part of the House or the Senate or anything else. I had to work with people in the Capitol.
Yep.
I had to make those connections. There was a whole group of people. Whole group.
It gets heard in committees.
Yes. Whole group.
Yeah.
And why didn't I say anything? Why? Why?
Yeah.
And then can you guess why I didn't say anything?
These are my words. These aren't your words, but I'll be very honest with you. It's because there are people here in this environment that absolutely will harass and target and utterly slander people's names in order to destroy their efforts. Utterly. It's the same stuff that L. Ron Hubbard does. And it literally is. That's just fact. That's a statement of fact, pure and simple. And that's why it has to be so with some of these initiatives. It's not even Scientology doing it too.
And why didn't you say anything about your case?
Because I don't want to burn my case.
Okay. Perfect.
Sometimes you got to keep your mouth shut, and it's for the better. And you go public when you dot all your I's and cross all your T's and do all your due diligence rather than spewing foam at the mouth and looking like complete incompetent idiot.
I mean, look what happened when I was transparent and when I was honest. I was still called a liar. I was still told I was, frauding and this and that. And no. So I don't say anything. The last time I said I was going to XYZ council, somebody decided to call that council and tell them that I was coming and I was going to cause a big ruckus. They know who I am. I've been there for months and months and months. They called me and asked me not to come. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. That plain and simple.
Yep.
So when I go, I go. When I don't, I don't.
Yeah. It's really, at the end of it, it's a bullying tactic. That's what it is. It's straight up bullying. And it's frankly quite pathetic. It really is.
Yeah, exactly. Liars would be calling the state legislation ending any success. Exactly.
Absolutely.
So now I'm going from, I have other things that I'm doing. I almost told you what I was going to do. See?
Don't do it.
But I have, don't do it.
Don't do it.
There's a reason why I'm wearing this shirt. It says, roses are red, people are fake. I stay to myself so I don't end up on the first 48. So, yes. So my next move is going to be bigger, and we're going to each and every city. Won't tell you which ones I'm starting with, but we're going to be going little by little, and we're going to hold accountability and make transparency and, I can break the bill down for you guys on another live. If you guys want to, just comment and I can break it down, get some questions answered, things like that. But Henry, I appreciate you going live and, you know, answering these questions. I know that there's a lot of questions that, you know, we're wanting to be answered, but yeah.
I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, it
Oh.
means a lot. And I think, you know, one interesting thing that I will partially leak from my end is I'm picking a fight with the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. They owe me public records and they know what it is. And I will be getting those public records. I guarantee you I'll be getting those public records. Any other questions in the chat? Let's see, chat. No. No questions?
Sorry, guys. I take care of my dad, and he was blowing up my phone. So.
Oh, I bet. I can
Henry
attest.
knows how that is.
All right, cool.
Okay, so thank you so much, Henry.
Thanks, Chanel.
And thank you, chat, and you guys all have a wonderful night.
Absolutely. Take care, y'all. See you.